I did a wedding yesterday evening at 6 p.m. Now, I was called early last week by a friend who owns a wedding chapel, and they were in a panic because there was a wedding scheduled and they couldn't find a minister to do the wedding. Of course, we know why, don't we? Because it was kickoff football weekend. And a lot of people had said no, and I felt bad. I mean, no matter who you pull for, it's kind of the middle of a game, but I said okay, so I showed up, and I did the wedding at 6 o'clock. Now, I had not met the groom or the bride before like I had many times, and so I spent some time with the groom in the room waiting. Now, they were doing their wedding kind of more traditional. A lot of times now couples will, take pictures together to kind of expedite it, but they had decided that they were going to wait, and the first time he would see her in the wedding dress would be when he turned around and saw her coming down the aisle. So we were in the room talking. Like most grooms, he was so excited. I've done over 200 weddings now, and I've yet to see a groom who just couldn't wait to get out there. Now with him, he had to follow me, and he had to keep turned because it was an outdoor wedding, and he could see her if he wasn't careful. And so he was facing me, and I was going to tell him when it was time, he could turn around, and he could see his bride coming. And he kept looking, what's happening now? What's happening? I said, it's the flower girls. It's okay. I kept going, it's okay. And then finally he heard the music change. And he was like, can I turn? Can I turn? And finally she got there. She got centered. Everything was set. And I said, you can turn. And he flipped around. And he was, I saw the smile start. But I knew from the faces of everybody out there, he had an incredible beaming smile. And his head just locked in on her as she was walking all the way down. Now, that's what we'd expect, right? I mean, that's normal. Now, if he had been there and it was a full venue, every seat was pretty much taken. If she'd have been walking down and all of a sudden he started looking out here, that'd have been weird, right? If he'd started looking at some other cute single women and said, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. If he told one, hey, you, call me. You call me. We'll dance at the reception. I mean, if he said that, what would have happened? Well, if that bride had any sense, she'd turn around and walk away, right? Now, his eyes were locked on her 100% because, you know what? He couldn't wait for her to be his bride. And yet we know, as many weddings as start, how many end in divorce. How many that still stay married, still aren't happy that they're married. What happens? And today we're going to talk about a hard subject, and it is a hard subject, honestly, for me to share. And yet it's important. And we're talking about affair-proofing your marriage. And what are the steps? What are the things you can do? What are the things you can avoid that will most likely put your marriage in a category of one that doesn't suffer an affair? There's a lot of statistics out there that range in statistics of the amount of marriages that have affairs that go up and down. But according to the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapists, I think one of the best, it says 15% of married women and 25% of married men will have an extramarital affair during their time. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, you think about it. I've seen these grooms. I've stood before them. None of them were thinking about that. I've been with these brides. I've done premarital counseling. None of them feel that way then. And yet something happens. Today we're going to talk about that something. But more important than statistics, we're going to talk about steps you can take to affair-proof your marriage.